Welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Connor Williams, joined by James from the Babbling Blues, and we'll be doing the extra time segment on the Everton-Manchester United game. James, first of all, just give me your thoughts on the game.
Yeah, really pleased. Really tough, hard-fought, hard-earned win, and obviously much needed. Because I think if we'd lost that game on the weekend, I think that would have felt like it just compounded the result from Wednesday. So crucial that we got the win. Really important 3 points, and yeah, really pleased with how the team played.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think one of the first bits to talk about is obviously I don't think if you were going to go off style, it's one of the best ways we've played in terms of, chances created and all of that. But it was more, I think fans are more happy to see the determination. I think Lampard alluded to it before the game, and the stats have come out to back it up that we just ran United off the field. Players, it looked like they were playing for their lives. There's clips of Mykolenko celebrating. Richarlison turned up. There was Yerry Mina in the tunnel. It sort of felt like it's what the fans wanted, which is we don't, it doesn't have to be fancy football. It just has to be, socks up, give it 100%, play like you're the fans. And I thought that's what the players delivered to an extent.
Yeah, pretty much. I think Lampard said it perfect after the game. He was like, beautiful, sexy football comes later. It's fighting now, and I was really pleased with it. And great video of Yerry Mina in the tunnel. Even the fact that you got Cenk Tosun involved, I really like that. It just felt everyone was in it together. Fabian Delph did his interview after the game, which was sort of half funny, half a bit sad. But I don't know. I kind of saw the funny side of it. But yeah, just everything about it was just great. And I think as well, I prefer to win a game 1-0 playing like that than win a game 1-0 and kind of be, playing that nice football. And it just kind of felt like it was a hard-earned win rather than, we played well today and we might not do that next week, but we can work hard next week. That's the difference. It's like you can guarantee the prerequisite of working hard. That's what should be every week. So I'm super pleased, and I'd say probably my favourite performance of the season so far.
Yeah,
but not saying much.
I was gonna say out of the slim pickings that we've got to choose from, but no, I agree. It was nice to see that sort of passion displayed from them, and like you said, it was just good. It seems like people were really up before this game. I was a bit hesitant. I think I'd us down to draw, but it seems like a lot of people were really up for Manchester United at Goodison Park. Obviously, it's a fixture that's got a lot of history, but it seems to be one of those fixtures that a lot of fans were really excited for. Did you share the excitement for it going in, or were you a little bit hesitant as well?
Well, I mean, I was still reeling after Wednesday, to be honest with you, so I wasn't excited for it. But normally I like United at home. I mean, even I think it was one of the earlier games I went to was when we played them. I think we got beat. I think it might have been the 4-2 when Rooney scored and Ian Turner played in goal. But it's always a good game to play Man United. Like it feels like it's always tight, pretty much. Only a couple of goals in it, and then obviously you've had the 2-0 under Martinez, you had the 4-0 under Silva. That's some really good games. The 3-0 under Martinez as well. So last sort of 10, 15 years at Goodison, I don't know what the stats are, but certainly at least the last 10, 12 years, I feel like we've had their number a little bit in terms of the results we've had, and obviously the first game of the season under Moyes that time when Fellaini scored, and today, and it felt like, generally speaking, we've done quite well at home to United. So I think you're always up when they come to town, because even though they are a fallen giant now, really, they still have that kind of, not aura, but kind of like that you ruined my childhood kind of, like, hated playing them whenever at home and away, especially at Old Trafford. Our record there is dismal, but taking 4 points off them again, and we've done that a couple of times over the last few years. So yeah, I wouldn't say I was excited for the game, but I do normally like playing Man United at home, I must say.
Yeah, I think, like you said, we've had some quite good games against United at home. Jason Roscoe has put about Fabian Delph, and I've got a number of players that we'll talk about, but I might as well start with Fabian Delph. Give me your thoughts on it. Obviously, you said about his interview and stuff. Give me your thoughts on him, because I know a lot of people were saying maybe he should have come in against Burnley. came in now. I think alongside Alan, he shored us up a little bit, made us look a little bit stable in a midfield where, you've got to be about yourself with Fernandes dropping in the hole. But give me your thoughts on Fabian Delph on his first game back in months.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, and it's so frustrating because if we kept him fit all season, or if he kept himself fit, we don't. It seems to be a different thing of every week. It's not like he got injured a few years ago and he can't shake it off or anything. It seems to be something different every week, which is frustrating. And to be fair, talking fairly about him, it's probably really frustrating for him too. But he just coasted through the game. It just looked easy to him, and just makes you think like this lad is actually quite a good footballer, and it is a massive shame that he's always injured. And as I say, his interview did make me laugh afterwards. To be fair, saying like it wasn't so much the I'm going to rest for 10 days now, or I probably won't train for a week or anything like that. It was when he said, I like helping the boys out. That's just like it made me think of when you get like your electrician down to 5-a-side or something, like, or you get like your dad's mate or something to come help you out. It's like, no, you paid like 80 grand a week to play for Everton. So I'd expect at least half a dozen games from your season, Fabian. But I think that's his third game of the season. I think his second start. You got to give it to him. He did really well, and I felt, I say, he did shore us up. It gives the back line some security, and there's a perfect clip as well. Second half, Michael Keane steps out, gets the ball, and plays it out to Richarlison. When he did the little seal dribble, when he did the sort of 5 consecutive headers, which was great. But when you see Michael Keane step out to like 10 yards inside their half, he's back in his centre-back Delph. And against West Ham, we didn't have that, and we conceded literally from that. Michael Keane steps out, plays a ball, we lose it. One pass, no through and goal, and that's what lost us the game. So it's the fine margins, it's the slim pickings, it's the tiny things like that. And he just did it all afternoon, just the little things, the simple things. I don't think there'd be a particularly exhaustive highlight reel of him or anything like that. I just think he did the basics, which, if you've seen the Amazon documentary, he famously loves the basics, doesn't he? So, no, I was really pleased, and I pray to God, I can't believe I'm saying it, but I pray to God he just keep him fit for two or three more games, especially the home matches, because it can definitely give us more license against teams who are going to come forward and aren't going to be as haven't got as much individual quality as Man United. So I'm excited, and I hope he's playing against Leicester in a week's or so's time.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, my next question was going to be, what do you do with, obviously, there's a big asterisk next to Fabian Delph if he stays fit. But if he stays fit, what do you do in terms of, you've got him, Alan, Decore now. Do you stay with the two in midfield? Do you add Decore and go for a free man? Have Delph as one of, as the CDM, and have Alan and Decore in front of him? It leaves Lampard with a big question.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have at least a couple of options, but I think Decore getting dropped was fair enough because he's not really done it since Lampard came in. Really, he's just not that midfielder. His ability on the ball is really poor for a centre midfield player, in my opinion. Anyway, for someone who's probably played 200-300 games in the Premier League, he can't take the ball on the half turn. He can't do it. Whereas Fabian Delph, Alex Iwobi, and Alan, they'll all do that, and that's one reason why we look so cohesive. That midfield three. When we were at Palace and we had Decore, I think he was next to Andre Gomez, who should be able to do that, but he can't. The ball was going into them, it was going back to centre backs, going into them, out to the wing backs. It was painful viewing. Whereas now you've got a trio in there who will really take the ball and are happy to have it, which makes all the difference for me. So as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I think don't change your winning team's a bit outdated now, because it's quite simply some players are better against other players. If someone's got a big tall centre back, you want a big striker. If someone's got a massive weakness out wide, you want to get your quickest winger on it, that sort of thing. So I think don't change your win team maybe isn't quite the mantra I go by, but in terms of the way the team played, I'd be very happy to see that first 11 again. And I say it's just nice to have options. Delph, Isaac Price has been getting in matchday squads, Decore, Gomez, Alan. So it's nice to have the options there. But if I was Lampard, I'd try and stick with what we did on the weekends.
Yeah, I hope, and I think that bit of stability as well is something we need, because he's been Lampard, quite rightly, has been criticised for changing his system a fair bit. So it'd be nice, now he's got a steady option, maybe a bit more of a balanced midfield, that he sort of stays with this now. At least with this formation, anyway, he can tinker here and there, take a winger out, put a winger in. But I think now that he's found that blend of perfect balance in the midfield, or what looks to be a better balance anyway, probably best just staying with that.
Yeah, massively. I think balance has been a massive problem for this team in terms of having no left-footed players for part of the season. Fabian Delph, that's one thing he does add, is that he has got the ability on both feet, and that's massively important to the balance of the team. You've now got Mykolenko on the left, there's another left-footed player. We have Branford playing through the week, another one there, just adding that sort of balance to the team, and then the sort of the literal balance of the team in terms of having one that you can sit more a bit deeper, and Iwobi and Alani were happier on the ball, and they're certainly in Iwobi an intelligent football as well. They can get the ball into better areas, and I think Lampard must have been really pleased with what he saw, and it just makes you think that, you imagine Delph probably leave at the end of the season, but we've already been linked to a couple of players as well. But it makes you think that we can get a number 6 who's good on the ball, like Delph is, who's happy to have it and can stay fit. That's just massive for the team, and well, you saw on the weekend the impact he's made after not playing for so long. And even when he went off, we were still solid. Like, he wasn't off for very long. I think it was about 10, 12 minutes, maybe a bit more of the added time. So it was nice that we kept it together even when he wasn't there. And as I say, it'd just be nice if we could keep him fit for the rest of the season.
Yeah, obviously you mentioned Iwobi as well, who sort of, especially in the last couple of games, obviously the Newcastle one was brilliant, but since then he sort of has improved. I think he was, I think since then, I think it'd be fair to say he's sort of improving week on week. He's impressing me a little bit more. Obviously, he's playing, in this more of a centre mid role. Do you think this could be a new role for him?
Absolutely. I was really pleased with him on the weekend. I really enjoyed watching him. I've defended him a lot, and then earlier on this season, I think it was after the City game when we got beat to the Etihad, I said we've made a lot of bad signings over the past few years, and Umar Niasse is the worst football I've ever seen play for Everton, but Alex Iwobi plays like he knows he's probably the worst signing we've ever made, and since then he's flattered to deceive. He's played okay in some games, and there's been games that we've won and everyone's kind of got praise, and I've sort of felt that Iwobi even then didn't want to be a hard ass, but kind of thinking Iwobi still wasn't great. But on Saturday he was box to box, he was energetic, he was getting his foot in, he was sticking a leg out, he was helping the fullback, he was helping the centre back, he was helping the centre mid, and then when he gets the ball he can pick a pass. And we've spoken on air a few times about the killer ball, and he's made a few killer balls, and he played the pass for the penalty on Wednesday, the second one. He played a couple of good balls on the weekend as well. He gets in the box for the goal. It's just everything about him. I really liked it, and he set the tone. And I was kind of saying to someone the other day that I've had COVID since last week, but Alex Iwobi's performance was the most infectious thing I'd seen all week. It was like he was all over the pitch, and it was just great to see him setting the tone and being the one to go out and press, and everything about it I loved. And I put on the Babylon Blues earlier, actually saying about how you kind of feel like managers, you forget that they're also there not just to improve players, but to reinvent them as well. And everyone's praised Eddie Howe for making Joelinton this really good-looking box-to-box centre mid. And Alex Iwobi hasn't got the physicality, hasn't got the stature for that, but everything about his performance on the weekend that I really enjoyed. And as I say, I do hope this is where he's going to play him now, because a lot of neutrals are saying he is a number 8, that is his best position. He can't believe how long it's taken everyone to figure it out. But Silva, Ancelotti, Benitez, they couldn't do it. And if Lampard sorts Alex Iwobi out, I'd be super pleased.
Yeah, and his preferred position has been something that, I think Iwobi's had an input in, fans have had an input in, managers have used him here, there, and everywhere as well. I believe Iwobi famously has come out and said his best position is in the centre. But if I remember rightly, I think he said he wanted to be a 10, which I think he has played there a couple of times. I think I remember Marco Silva played him there against West Ham as well. And that was actually one of the better performances that I've seen Iwobi playing in Everton top, which says a lot that one sticks out in memory and was easily 3 years ago now. It says a lot about Iwobi's time at Everton that's so stored in my mind. But yeah, it's still a central position, might be a little bit deeper, but depending on the system he goes with as well, on a 4-3-3, you can always have one centre mid that's allowed that little bit more freedom anyway. It's not quite, doesn't have to be as robust as it looks on the piece of paper. So hopefully, it allows him to excel. Maybe try and look like the player that we spent all that money on.
Yeah, I mean that was so long ago. That game, I think that was about 6 months before COVID even started in this country. That's how long ago that was. Like that feels like a lifetime ago. But I think, I've said on here for a few weeks now about how the number 10's kind of dying out because it's not just enough to be there to be the creative player. You've got to run. You've got to. That's why I think in the press a lot of the time you see an attacking midfielder go up and play as a striker and kind of sit in two banks of four, and it's kind of a bit of a problem position now, I feel like. And the best ones are the ones who can come in deeper. I keep on name dropping Bernardo Silva and Kevin De Bruyne in there. Martin Odegaard's quite good at it as well in terms of going from this number 10 to being this number 8 just onto the side and helping out your fullback. And I really don't think in a few years we're going to hear number 10s anymore. I just think they're kind of dying out. And that is where Alex Iwobi wants to play. I don't think it's going to be at Everton or maybe even in this country, certainly. So I think this deeper role is going to be what's best for him. And I saw things on the weekend I didn't think I'd ever see from Iwobi. I say, getting about the pitch, getting a foot in, helping out defensively. He did really well, but he hasn't got the pace to play out wide. He's a terrible crosser of the ball. Can't do that. And as I said, I mentioned the issues with the number 10 position, and I just don't think he's quite good enough to play that anyway. So I think this is going to have to be the one, but there's been too many false dawns now. It has to work out for him in this position. Otherwise, what else can we do? We played him out wide. We played him as a wing back. We played him as a number 10. He's got his chance now in the centre of the pitch playing for Everton. He can really make it his own because at the end of the day, the hierarchy don't want to get rid of Alex Iwobi because he's going to be a 20, 25 million pound loss now. His stock had fallen that much. If you can play a good, solid 6, 12 month there, you get right back in the heart of all Evertonians. And that's why shopping in that younger market and going after a player you can mould a bit more is really, really important. So I really do hope that Alex Iwobi has found his home now, but I don't want to get too carried away.
No, yeah, I completely understand that. Like you said, sometimes he'll have these games that flat to deceive and then he'll revert back to sort of normal service. Another player that has come on leaps and bounds is Anthony Gordon. Obviously, he got his goal. Did take a deflection that I'm not too sure if it doesn't take that it still goes in. But I think, bearing in mind the season we've had, we're due a little bit of luck. And if that's a deflection off Maguire to go in, then I'm not going to complain. I think when I saw it, I thought, we're owed that and a little bit more, but certainly that at least.
Yeah, and it's just that thing of as well. Like this, why I don't sort of tap into the fact that we got too lucky with that in terms of you got to shoot to score. Like again, Martin Odegaard, he took a shot on the weekend from miles out, which is probably going nowhere near the goal, and it loops into the top corner. It's just like if you shoot, you get that bit of luck. You've shown the bravery. There's 40,000 fans around you. I mean, admittedly, it was a very good position to shoot, and I think 9 players out of 10 would take that on either foot, to be honest with you, just because it is so inviting. And yeah, as you say, it might not have been the best shot in the world, but yeah, we're owed something. Like, we need something. And it's not just the fans; it's the manager as well. The manager needed something because at the end of the day, I can't pin what happened on Wednesday on the manager. It's another individual error let us down on Wednesday after individual error let us down on Saturday. This weekend, no individual errors, and the player showed a bit of bravery, took a shot on which, as I say, most players would do, and he's gotten that slice of luck, and that's all we need. And that's why you kind of feel as if when people and so-called experts say all Evertonians want is effort, it's a bit condescending, it's a bit insulting for me. I kind of feel like effort is the prerequisite. It's the first thing you commit to when you sign for Everton. It's the base of everything that you do. It's not all we expect at all. It's the minimum, because if you go into a game and you don't have many shots at goal, I think we had one other shot on target on Saturday, and that was another deflected effort by Richarlison that I can think of. We think we ain't great in the final third at all, but everyone worked hard and we won. So it didn't matter that we didn't play great football. It didn't matter that we didn't pelt to their goal. It didn't matter. It was that we worked hard. We got a bit of luck, and you earn that luck when you work hard. United didn't, and where they could have maybe got a bit of luck with a deflection or the efforts they had in goal, we didn't get it. And it's funny how things work out in football that way.
Yeah, I completely agree. Just on Gordon as well, though, how good is it to see him sort of, obviously, even under Benitez, he was sort of the star boy, sort of promising bit of hope. But he's continued his form this season under Lampard. He looks to. I certainly don't want to start making him out like he's the new somebody or the next something. But he certainly is one of the shining lights of this season. When you look at the players, I mean, whether that's as much of a compliment as it sounds is another thing. But
well, I think he's genuinely a really good footballer. It's not just the fact that he's come into a team because, you know, in the last bad season, we had like this 17-18 when we signed all those players and we ended up with John Joe Kenny at right back. He broke into the first team. You could tell that he was crap. Like, and we are 5-6 years later and he's still shite. But, you know, it's not just a thing of having a young player come in. Benny Benigmi did it as well. He came in, but he couldn't keep up with it and he kept on getting injured. And then he ended up going to nothing. This Cam Connolly, Tom Davis, Ross Barker, the list goes on. It's like, it's about kicking on now for Anthony Gordon because I do genuinely think he's a really good footballer and I love how he's going on both feet. I love how he goes to beat a man. He's not lightning quick, but he's got that speed. He's got that power. He'll commit players. He gets back. He defends. He was out on his feet on Saturday. I was screaming at Lampard to bring him off, but there weren't any options. You know, Andros Townsend's obviously injured now, isn't he? Demarai Gray had already come on, so we were out of options really for anyone to come on and play that right wing role. But I thought he played really well again on Saturday. He won us a penalty during the week. He's just getting better and better. And I think a good, successful Everton team, if there is to be one in the next 5 years, Anthony Gordon will be the fulcrum. He'll be the cornerstone of that. And I hope, whether it's Lewis Warrington, whether it's Isaac Price, Reece Welsh, I don't mind. I just hope there's another one to come. Lewis Dobbin as well, Tom Cannon, Tanner Nyango. I don't care who it is, but I just hope there's another one coming just to sort of almost take the limelight away from him a little bit, because I think that's where players like Barkley and Davis kind of fell on the sword in terms of they just couldn't kick on. All eyes were on them. They were the big hope. They had it all on their shoulders. I just hope someone can come and take the burden and sort of share it almost with him. So we'll see. But I say I do genuinely think he's a really good footballer. It's not just him being a young Scouse kid. It's the fact that he's developing into a really good Premier League player.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think we've got a couple of players as well that are sort of, especially, I don't know if it's just because we're a bit lackluster in terms of players. We've got a couple of players that seem to be skirting around on the bench. You've mentioned a few there. And apparently Warrington's having a really good time at Tranmere as well. So fingers crossed he might be the next one. Another player that really impressed me, and I'm going to say he was my man of the match. I don't know if he was the official one, and definitely saved us in the first 5-10 was Jordan Pickford, who I'm going to stake is one of our better players this season, if not our best. It's been a poor season, and he's really proven why. Gets a lot of flack. I think me and you have spoken about the flack he gets, and on Saturday proved why he shouldn't be dropped for Ramsdale, for England, and why he's important for us.
He's great, and it's yet another weekend where we're talking about him in glowing terms, and it's another game where he's finally got a clean sheet. I think he is the sort of rule as to why how many clean sheets a goalkeeper has doesn't dictate how good they are. The fact as well that we played against Newcastle a few weeks ago, and Begovic played and got a clean sheet there, and they were sort of like, the commentator was like, "Oh, he's not had a clean sheet since the Leeds game," and it's like, well, he's played very well in between those two games. It's not for the fault of trying. Him and Anthony Gordon have been our two best players this season for me in terms of consistency, and we're getting to a stage now, Jordan Pickford, where I'm saying we're lucky to have him, because I don't really care if he's England number one, but I sort of think about it before, and he loves Everton. He seems to feel like, to me, he seems to absolutely love this club, and I kind of think, well, we're the club who made him England's number one, we're the club who gave him the platform and have given him all the support, and obviously during the tough times he's been there for him, and he's really starting to reap the rewards. And at the end of the day, goalkeepers do peak at 26, 27, 28. That's when they are at their best, or 28, 29, 30, going on a bit further. That's where the goalkeepers are at their best, and he was terrific again on the weekend. He made 3 or 4 really good saves, and I'm pretty sure Fabian Delph was the man of the match, I think, or I can't quite remember. I think it was Delph, but it definitely wasn't Pickford anyway. But he was very good. And as you say, if you can just ignore all the noise, because him and Richarlison, in terms of neutrals, they get so much flack from people who simply don't know what they're talking about. Because if they don't rate those two players, then they can't watch Everton very often. But Jordan Pickford's got to stay in goal for England. He'll definitely stay in goal for Everton, and we're a much better team for it.
Yeah, I think he's the perfect example as well of sort of can have a rough time of it and come out the other end. You know, a couple, like you said, there were those couple of seasons where I think he kept his place because obviously our backup keepers have never been really anything. I think Olsen was the last time we had a keeper that sort of could maybe push, but even then I didn't think Olsen could push him out. I think he was just a bit better than obviously Joel Robles and Begovic, etc., etc. But he's gone on to prove that if you stick by a player, they can come good as well. It's not complete write off. You see football now; it's so reactionary. We're on about Iwobi, and hopefully he can kick on and change. I think he's a prime example of you can come out at the other end of it.
Yeah, definitely. At the end of the day, while fans will slag off the likes of Mason Holgate and Michael Keane and Andre Gomez and Cenk Tosun, and for example, there's 4 players who I think their Everton careers are practically over. Michael Keane maybe just hanging on, has maybe still got a chance. But at the end of the day, I say that if those 4 players came on and played well and put a run together of 5-6 games where they are just 7 out of 10 and they're trying and they're not making errors, doing the simple stuff right, it turns around for you. It simply has to. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's another case in point. And whilst I know he's on the back end of some flack now, he's come out, he said something now. Let's see if it reflects in his performances, because it didn't work hard enough for me on Saturday. Whether that's the manager telling him to stay more central or not, I don't know. But it wasn't the Dominic Calvert-Lewin of the 4-0 Man United game, in terms of he ran their defence ragged. He ran Arsenal ragged around the same period, if you recall, as well, when we beat them. So players like Iwobi and Calvert-Lewin can really start to show, Iwobi can show the same way Calvert-Lewin did. And Jordan Pickford's the same. He had a great first season. He was pretty good in the second season. He made a couple of mistakes at the start of the first full season under Ancelotti. The Van Dijk stuff happened and he was at his lowest ebb there. Ancelotti, to be fair, sorting out with the club, sorting out with the security and stuff that he needed, and they brought him at the firing line, gave him a couple of weeks off, and then since then he's been practically faultless for Everton. I just think he was managed really well by the club. The club stood by someone who'd been pretty good footballer for them, and there's now every chance for him to really go and kick on now. And he's already England's number 1. He's closing in on 50 caps for them. He'll go to his third tournament, his third major tournament in the summer. And I think this is where, when you do spend a lot of money on players, you kind of have to hope they turn around and end up being good, because when they don't, they end up like Andre Gomez and Cenk Tosun. But when they do, they end up being one of your better players. And I hope that's where Jordan Pickford stays, because he's been tremendous for us this season as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I completely agree again, mate. Interesting you mentioned Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He's on my list of players to talk about. Wasn't particularly impressed. He's having a really tough time of it. Obviously, I know he came back from his injury that's had him out half the season. But the longer we go on, we've had international breaks. I think the Villa game, we were saying, he's just come back from injury, give him a break. That was, I'm going to say, about a month ago now. It was before Lampard. It was easily about a month ago, maybe a little bit longer. We've had international breaks since then. He's had game time as well to sort of help get him up to it. It's sort of, I don't think his head's been turned like some say, but I do think, obviously, like you said, his statement came out. He has got to sort of back up what he's saying and sort of show some sort of improvement, even if it's not goals galore. Like you said, just running defense ragged. I saw a couple of people accuse him of looking. I don't know how to describe it. They were saying he does that thing where it makes it look like you're going to jump for the ball, but you've got no real. There was no real venom in his jumps. It was just a sort of half bothered jump. So, give me your thoughts on it. Just Calvert-Lewin as a whole. Do you think his head's been turned, and what he needs to do now to change, turn that quickly back around?
Well, I mean, I think there was a lot of noise about Arsenal, and I was kind of looking into it. I couldn't really understand why he go to Arsenal. I didn't feel like he was their kind of player, but I think from what I saw, they want someone who's a big, tall, physical presence. They can hit the ball too if they need to. He can run the channels. He can link play up, and he can run defenses ragged, and that's kind of why they want him. And they've been linked to Tammy Abraham as well, who's a similar profile, much better goal scorer, but obviously had a far different youth career and stuff. But I can't see why his head would be turned in terms of. I don't know why anyone would want to sign him off the back of this season. Like, if there was rumours last summer, then fair enough. But there's been nothing this season to suggest that he's going to be any good. He scored 2 penalties, and then they had the Alex McCarthy own goal in the Southampton game, which went down as a goal for him for some bizarre reason. Anyone watches that goal back, very clearly not Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and it's just kind of that feeling of he hasn't done anything this season. The injury's been bad, and you're kind of thinking, is he thinking, well, I want to get to the summer and not injured, and then really work on it? Does he think, and he doesn't want to be recovering in the summer, he wants to be strengthening? Is he thinking, I don't want to get injured before the summer because I want to move? Is he thinking, I don't want to get injured before the summer because I want to go to the Qatar World Cup and I want to give myself the best chance to do that? I don't know, but he is just not the player we've seen, and we always said that with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, when he wasn't scoring goals, it was he's working hard, he's a handful, he's terrorising defences, and we're winning games even without a goal scoring striker. And then he became a goal scoring striker, and he still had that work rate and that passion. And now he's neither. It's like, I think Ped kind of summed it up perfectly in terms of that regard of saying how he isn't the striker we'd seen, and we don't really know why, because why would anyone want Dominic Calvert-Lewin at the minute? There's so many better options than him in terms of what he's shown this past year. So I think we'll stick by him as Everton fans tend to do, and he's got plenty of chances, and he could be the man to be the hero to let us out of this situation. It's all down to how much he wants it. And Alex Iwobi came out on the week and said, we're not championship players. We want to show everyone why that's the case. And then he came out and put in a really good performance. Will Dominic Calvert-Lewin do that against Leicester? We'll have to wait and see. But actions definitely speak louder than words in life and in football.
Yeah, I think now that he's made the comment as well, it gives fans that idea that he is self-aware. He is seeing what's being said, and also it shows that, you know, as a professional athlete, that he's aware of his own game, which is what you want to see. You know, they are professional athletes at the end of the day, and there should be that competitive streak, not just with other teams in the league and other players, but with themselves, their teammates. You should want to be competing against, you know, everybody, including yourself. So the idea that he's addressed it sort of gives me the hope that he's looked in the mirror, had a good hard talk, and gone, you're not the best you can be here by a long shot, so you need to pull up your socks.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not in for the fight, put Solomon Rondon in. I don't care. I mean, Solomon Rondon from day one has worked quite hard for Everton, and I think there's been points this season when he's come on under Lampard and he's worked hard, and I've felt that he'll get his rewards. And obviously, got a couple of goals in the cup, and from listening to West Brom and Newcastle fans told me how hard a work he was whilst he was there, and at the end of the day, throw him in. If Dominic Calvert-Lewin's worried about the summer, then scrap him, fob him off. We can't have passengers in this team. We've had enough passengers. We've had them all season. We all said when Dominic Calvert-Lewin comes back, Everton are going to be a better team for it, but he's been ghosting through games. He's been non-existent. His touch has been poor. His decision-making's been really bad. His commitment's not been there. He's not been running centre-halves ragged. He's not been running the channels. He hasn't been doing anything of what made Dominic Calvert-Lewin a promising young striker to then go on and give him the platform to become, at one point, one of the deadliest strikers in the league in terms of being a great penalty box player. And I appreciate how we don't play in the penalty box, and Frank Lampard may not like Dominic Calvert-Lewin that much. You may think that we're going to need a different profile player, and that's fine. But whilst he's playing for Everton, you look at Richarlison, nothing fell for him on Saturday. He had one chance all game, and still he was right up until the very final whistle. He was on Victor Lindelof's back. He should have been bullying those two centre-halves on the weekend, but he gave them... Well, they didn't have an easy game because Richarlison had the goal, and then Iwobi made them more difficult games for them. But I say he was just ghosting, and if that's going to be his level of commitment, I'd just throw Solomon Rondon on him right now, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah, I completely. Again, we need people who are gonna, give it a little bit of a fight. David B has put, do you think he was brought back in the team too early because of circumstances? On about Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Maybe was he rushed back a little bit too early during that Villa game?
He was definitely rushed back under Benitez. He hadn't played for 3 months, and then he started against Brighton, and he played the full 98 minutes or whatever it was. So there's definitely reason to believe that it was madness how he dealt with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, how he didn't go into the 23s for a couple of games as well on Everton. I think the whole in the ass thing going to 23s kind of meant we don't do it anymore, but Delph, Gabaman, Calvert-Lewin, why aren't they playing games for 23s, getting some match fitness, getting some sharpness, feeling like they're part of the squads? I just don't know why we haven't been doing that, and that's what should have happened to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He should play games for 23s. He's come back from a muscle-related injury for a player who's powerful and strong and quick. He battled through the pain through the summer, came back, played with injections, played with a broken toe or a fractured toe, whatever it was at the start of the campaign. So his commitment wasn't an issue then. That's why I do kind of think it's a thing of he doesn't want to get injured before the summer, and I think he wants to then have the summer to either strengthen, go for the World Cup, move on. As I said earlier, I don't know what it could be, but that's what it feels like, and we can't afford that to happen. So he's got to be honest and say to Lampard, I can't play at the minute. It just can't happen. I can't be the best because I'm just not fit enough, not powerful enough. We'll have to wait and see, but he's got to be honest and sort of front up to that, and we'll see how he kind of reacts to his own comments. But he was definitely rushed back too soon originally, but then he's been out, I think, twice since then as well. So I don't think it's I don't think there's a great deal of excuse for it now. We were talking 3 months ago, definitely, but now I think he's had his chance to come back now, and he should be starting to hit stride again very soon.
Yeah, hopefully we see him, a lot better, a lot sooner. Another player that seems to impress me and that he showed a lot of heart, and there's images going around of a messages conversation he had with one of the fans as well. Is Mykolenko. Obviously, when he came in, it was I feel really like not just because of what's going on in his home country, but the fact that he came in, as a replacement for Luka Dean. Whether you like people want to admit it or not, that's quite a lot of pressure for a lad to come from the Ukrainian league, which isn't nowhere near the levels the Premier League is. Everybody looking at him, sort of thinking the last left back we had was really great creatively. His profile never suggested he was going to be that, but I think it's still fans sort of were hoping for it. But since then, and like I said, bearing in mind the other stuff that's going on outside of football in his home country, he's gone on to improve steadily to the point where I've been impressed with him the last 2 games. And there's obviously that clip going around where he's, smacking the ground with absolute just ecstaticness that we've scored. He seems to be slowly but surely progressing and improving week on week, which is what I'd like to see.
Definitely, yeah, and I think I tweeted about it the other day saying I don't think, as you said then, I don't think he's going to be the sort of the sexiest, most buccaneer and left back we've ever seen, and he's got massive boots to fill in Luka Dean and even bigger ones in Leighton Baines, and I don't think he's going to be quite like that, but that's fine. They say his profile suggests he was actually more a centre back playing left back. That's what his numbers suggest anyway when he's coming out of Ukraine and coming out of Dynamo Kiev, but I think if he goes on now to play the next 8 games and play as well as he did on the weekend, you've got to say fair play to Lampard because didn't throw him in straight away. We were all wondering why on earth he's playing John Joe Kenny at left back because John Joe Kenny's a really bad right back, never mind a left back. So you're kind of thinking, why on earth is he doing this? And then he's playing him at wing back. And then when we moved from wing backs, he then went off because it was like he can't play in a flat back 4. He doesn't trust him. But now he's been brave. Last 3 games, played flat back 4 and he's played Mykolenko left back, and I'd say he's been pretty faultless in all 3 games, generally speaking. One as a penalty against Burnley, was terrific on the weekend. And the biggest compliment I can give to the game on Saturday, it was like, in terms of effort, it was like a peak David Moyes Everton team. It wasn't peak David Moyes in terms of quality because I think David Moyes teams had that flair and had that quality at their best, but in terms of effort, it was peak Moyes, and Vatar Mykolenko typified that in his performance because whilst Moyes had left back with Leighton Baines and was a very different profile of player, I think he was a David Moyes performance left back in terms of big heart, up and down the pitch, getting involved in both boxes, trying his hardest, and we even saw a little bit of quality in the final third. A couple of crosses he put in, he flicked the ball past Wan-Bissaka, he got in the box for the goal, he dragged the defender away. He looks like an absolute warrior of a left back, and you sign a player from Eastern Europe, and you do kind of think he's going to have that run through brick walls kind of mentality. You look at the likes of Vidic and Matic and Ivanovic and all them who've come to the Premier League. That's kind of what you get from them. What you see is what you get from them, and I was super pleased with Mykolenko, and I just hope that's what we get from him every week. But obviously, the players who haven't been letting us down over the last few years, they can be whatever they want to be at this football club, and they can make every position their own. I just hope that he is going to be a left back with that warrior sort of never say die, great defender. That's what I saw on the weekend, and I hope Nathan Patterson has got similar characteristics, and then can maybe go a bit further forward and looks like a more athletic fullback. So there's very much a lot of time for these fullbacks. And I said when we spoke on here last week that we signed 2 fullbacks who weren't ready, which I think got a bit of unwanted attention, because I don't think people quite listened to what I actually said, which was just that they obviously both weren't ready because he wasn't playing them. Now it looks like Mykolenko's going to come into his own, and I just hope he got a lot of confidence from that game on Saturday, because I see that video of him in the tunnel and a full time. They were both great. I really liked it.
Yeah, same. I think even if obviously Lampard, people thought he was going to play 4-3-3. People think he might have played a 3-5, but I don't think he's fully. I think for this season he's probably done with that. But I don't think in the grand scheme of things, Lampard's done with the idea by a long shot. But I think either way, there's a position for Mykolenko, because if he's not your wing back, which I don't think he is as well, like we just said, I think he's a centre back-ish. He reminds me a bit of Wan-Bissaka, very good defensively. I think going forward might be a big issue, but he reminds me a bit of Wan-Bissaka in that aspect. But I think if Lampard was to go to a 5-back, 3-back, left centre back, I don't think would be an awful position for Mykolenko either. So I think the fact that he can play both and Lampard, I don't know. I just have this feeling he's not done with that. Means that he's probably going to be a very useful player for a couple of seasons for us as well. He's not going to be one of these where you buy him and then, there's a lot of players we've bought where after a season you think, what did we buy them for? Because there's no use for them now.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, that versatility, I don't know whether I think he played there. I mean, I could be wrong. I feel like he played there for Ukraine, and then they had Zinchenko playing as a wing back. I feel like that could be correct. I might be wrong, but that's the idea I had in my head anyway when you started speaking. Then was that he had done that, and obviously if you get the players for that, then that's fine. It can be a really effective system, and just having different things you can go to. You don't have to play it every game. You can play it when you kind of suit it, and I think he tried to play it towards the end of his time at Chelsea as well, actually, which is obviously quite interesting because he went and found great success playing that way. So as long as we've got the right players for it, I don't mind. But I do believe his defensive sort of profile means he can play in sort of that full-back role, or as even a wide centre-back, but obviously wing-back. I think we got the engine for it, but he's definitely not got the positional sense, I don't think. And I think you're wasting him there. I think either play him in a flat-back 4 or even do try him as that left centre-back. I wouldn't be adverse to that, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like you said, Lampard tried it at Chelsea, but I think we've probably seen the rest of it for this season just because, like you said, he said the time for sexy football comes later. Let's just get wins. And the 5-3-back system at Everton, well, it's not even been sexy, but it's definitely not effective. Yeah. So I think that taking a back curve is probably the right decision. Give me your thoughts on United. What were your thoughts on them overall? They're having a sort of, obviously in terms of what United fans expect, they're having a bit of a wish-wash season. But I mean, give me your thoughts on them because they are still in the top 4 race.
Yeah, I mean, I said to my mate before the Burnley game, I am more confident for the United than I was for Burnley. Genuinely, I think they're a soft touch. I think their problems are overstated massively because they are Man United. Yeah, they're in a bad spot, but good Christ, I mean, teams all around have been in this scenario and they've gone and got the right manager who's taken all control, and within 6 months, Thomas Tuchel won the Champions League at Chelsea. They've just been they appointed a manager who was nowhere near good enough. His ability kind of waned off eventually, and then he started signing some really bad players like Wan-Bissaka and Maguire and Dan James. Maybe not bad players, but players not suited for what he was trying to do. And then they signed Ronaldo, and Sancho barely got played. It's bizarre, whatever the hell was going on over there. And the funniest bit was when we beat them 4-0, they said some of these players won't play for United next season. And then I think it was 6 or 7 played on the weekends, which is absolutely insane when you think about it. You know, he came out nearly 3 years ago to the day and said some of these won't play next season. Never mind, 3 years later, I think Pogba, De Gea, Mata maybe. There's at least 6 or 7, I think 9 or 10 are still in the squad, which is just insane. But they're a soft touch, and we've got their number at the minute, haven't we? You know, we know how to beat them. They don't like it up them, and we were benefited from no Cavani, who I think would have caused us some issues, and no McTominay, who I think would have shored up their midfield, and then obviously Fred went off as well. But yeah, I'm bored of Man United. They just bore me now. It's like they hit the panic button under Moyes, and whoever went in there, I think he would have struggled massively. But they hit the panic button under Moyes, and then they kind of thought, "Oh, we're Man United, but this can't be happening." And then it's gone and happened consistently since then. Like, so, they do bore me, and I think Ten Hag could be another disaster, to be honest with you. So I won't wait with bated breath, but I'm sure a lot of the country will, because they find it incredibly interesting how Man United are getting on for some bizarre reason. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I don't think Ten Hag's going to be the answer that they're going to build him up to be either. I don't think that squad's made for his style either. Just quickly, David B has asked if Patterson's out for the rest of the season. He is. He's out for like 10 weeks, so we won't be seeing him again till next season. Obviously, the win alone was good enough, but it was made even better that Norwich beat Burnley, which makes the table look a little bit better. I mean, like we said, I think it was me and you that said it last time, we've not dipped into the zone, and by you know, yeah, after the weekend, we might have during a weekend, but not after it. It's been a massive weekend for us, hasn't it, in terms of fixtures going our way as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think Watford are gone now, which coincides with Leeds have probably just about pulled away. So I think 17 is probably the best we can do, but I don't care. Just get us to 17. I couldn't care less. But it's funny because on Wednesday, we were all crying it in, and we sort of said, "Oh, well, that's giving Burnley a massive boost now. They're going to think, Christ, we're up for this now." And then I think the most pessimistic of Evertonians and even the most reasonable would have said, "Well, we'll probably get beat on Saturday against United." And then I'm sure Burnley will go to Norwich and put in a huge performance and probably get 3 points there. But instead, we beat United, and Burnley have gone and lost to the worst team in the league. So it's perfect for us. If you talk about how it's a benefit and how they would have felt on top of the world after Wednesday, they've been knocked right back down. And I'd say too that, they're playing West Ham away next. I think West Ham are away at Lyon in the week anyway, and then we're playing Leicester on the Wednesday. So there's another sort of 3-4 days rest. Leicester are playing away at PSV, and I think they're away to Newcastle, I think, next weekend. It kind of feels like if Burnley get beat by West Ham next Sunday and we beat Leicester, I feel like we'll be on the brink of confirming it. Then I feel like 7 points, assuming the two teams below get beat. I don't know who they're playing, but if we keep a 7-point gap after that Leicester game, you kind of think we're very close then. And I don't care what the running looks like, because anyone beats anyone now. Some teams are on the beach. Some teams are trying new things which work. Some teams are playing for pride. Some are going after titles. It doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. Everyone plays the same teams twice, and I think in most circumstances it doesn't really matter when you play them, because there's going to be something there for almost every team. So we'll see, but I do feel like if after the weekend, I kind of feel as if can Burnley really go again after that Norwich game. I don't know. So we'll see, but it's a massive sort of 10 days coming up for us. If we finish it 7 points clear, then I really do feel like we're getting close.
Yeah, I agree. I think I said to Thomas when me and him did a video as well, I was like, because obviously, like you said, Wednesday was really poor for us. And I sort of still try to keep the attitude, we're not done till we're done. We're not relegated till we're mathematically gone. In the same way, we're not safe till we're safe, sort of thing. But this has sort of picked their heads up, and we're on about things going our way, luck going our way with the Anthony Gordon goal. That summed it up. I was saying before, the only way the weekend probably could have got sweeter for Everton fans was if City could have won on Sunday. Who'd have thought Norwich would have showed up to beat Burnley, and that Burnley were going to go, resort back to a normal struggle they've had all season. It felt like something, we're owed a lot. Don't get me wrong, I think in terms of luck, we're owed a little bit more than that, but we were paid back a little bit with the results at the weekend.
Yeah, and it's funny. I mean, I was still isolating on Sunday, so I watched our game in my room, and I watched the Burnley game on my laptop as well. My dad texted me saying, "I'll get in," as Norwich had a corner, so I was like, "Oh, they're going to score," and then they scored, and then and then Cornet. I don't know if you see Cornet's chance on the weekend.
No, I've heard he should have scored it though.
He should have scored. And my heart was in my mouth, and I texted Dad the sweat bead drop emoji. I texted a couple of them, and then he didn't reply to me. And then when it went 2-0, I texted him like, "Oh, get in, it's all over." Then I found out today he stopped watching after the Cornet chance because it was stressing him out too much. And I was like, said to my mate, I was like, "This is what the relegation scrap's doing to my father." Is that it's making him stop watching Burnley versus Norwich. It's just unbelievable. And again, I was texting my other mates who's a blue, and I was in the middle of I texted him saying heart was in my arse then, and he texted back saying arse nearly fell out then at the same second, because we both just seen Cornet's missed chance. So I mean, I'm hating it, but it's strange being in this stage of the season and having so much to play for. It feels really weird because normally we're playing quite well towards this end of the season, but we've already messed it up further on in the season. We've got nothing to play for. We're sort of sat ninth around this time of the year, and we're winning a few games. But it's really strange, and I just hope it's nearly over.
So I don't know how. I was saying this to Thomas the other day. I was like, you hear some people go, how do you finish 10th every season? Pretty much, then you get bored of it, and they're like, wouldn't it spice it up being down the bottom? And like, no. I don't know how teams like Norwich do it every season. It's horrible.
Well, I remember I had an argument with a Norwich fan on Twitter about 3 years ago. So under Silver, I think, after our first season, Silver, we finished the season really well. And he tweeted saying he'd been watching the lap of appreciation at the end of the Burnley game when we finished like 8th, I think, or something. He was like, how can Everton fans put up with this every season? And I remember saying to him at the time, like, I'd rather do this than get relegated every year. Absolutely, in a million years. Like, don't get me wrong, it's crap just existing, but it's a whole lot better than the stress I've been put through this, and the certainly the last sort of 6 weeks has just been tragic, and it's been horrible. And whilst you love the moments against Newcastle and Leeds and United and the kind of the excitement you feel after a win like that, I don't like the desperation of it all. I don't like the feeling like you're going to cry after every match. I can't deal with it. So yeah, I think we've all learned a very valuable lesson from this. At least the ones who are sort of our age, our parents have been through it. Like I can't believe my dad sat through Coventry and Wimbledon. It's unbelievable. Yeah, I'd say hopefully this is as close as we'll ever see it. That's what I'm praying for anyway.
Yeah, I always think my dad's an Everton fan as well. I always think the older generation, for whatever bad it was, they've seen success, whereas we've just seen mediocrity and now this, and it's like,
it's really torpedoed. Like, it can't go to the last day. I mean, I pray, and I don't really feel like it will. I feel like I think we'll just do just about enough, but if it went to the last day, I couldn't even fathom it. As I say, I can't believe every time I watch the Wimbledon highlights, I think we're gonna get beat every time I watch it. And it's like the game took place nearly 30 years ago, and you think we're gonna lose. So I pray that we'll be put out of misery in the next sort of 2-3 weeks. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, so as quickly as we can get over the line. Just lastly, I'm going to ask you to give me your best players from the game and the ones to improve. I feel like there might be names that we've already spoken about, but just give me your best and worst.
literally everyone for the best category in terms of first half. I put in the chat saying I felt Godfrey, Coleman, and Calvert-Lewin could have done a bit better. Godfrey was getting there, but made a couple of errors and been bailed out for them. Calvert-Lewin didn't have much effort, and Coleman let his man go a couple of times, and they got in down that right side. But then second half, Godfrey head and kicked everything that moved. He was great. Coleman worked harder, and I felt got his reward when he tackled Ronaldo after he did a couple of step overs. I think everyone enjoyed that because it was just like you felt like there was life in him still yet, and it was a nice moment. And then even Calvert-Lewin, I felt worked harder second half, but was still a way off the player he was. But I would say top three will probably be Delph, Iwobi, and Mykolenko. They're the three I was almost proudest of coming off the pitch on Saturday. They were the three who I was happiest with because Iwobi, he's been written off a million times, and hopefully now he's going to do it. Mykolenko had kind of the other end of the spectrum, hadn't been written off, but everyone was a bit worried about him. But he showed he's here to belong now, and Fabian Delph is kind of the step above Iwobi. He is written off. No one wants him here at Everton anymore, and I don't think he will be here beyond the season. I've just actually got a tweet notification there saying Fabian Delph won't be training for a few days, so that's kind of where we're at with him, isn't it? It's like one step forward, two steps back. But those three were the ones I was proudest of, I think, and that's the word I'd use, pride.
No problem. That is everything I think we've got time for today. James, thank you so much for coming on and speaking to me, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, no problem. That's the first win I've spoke about for a while, so hopefully there's another one coming up soon.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to not talk about a bad result, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Don't forget, guys, to like the stream before you go. If you're watching it back on YouTube, like the video as well. It'd be much appreciated. And comment down below your thoughts on the game. Don't forget, you can check out the Babbling Blues as well. The link will be in the description as always. And stay safe, guys.